Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to Lost in Our 40s, a podcast where we talk about women, life, and the things that can help us have a better time. Welcome all. Hey, good. In today's episode, we are talking about how disconnect. I'm laughing because it's just funny to me, how disconnection from self turns up in dating life. This, again, one of those topics that I know something about. A change of scenery today. It's a warm day. Then I thought, let's go outside and have this hot topic in the hot weather. So, dating, disconnection from self. So this is just going on in the series that we've been having recently. The first topic on this, the first episode on this topic was about trauma, how to discover whether or not you've been affected by trauma in your past. Then we spoke about how to recognize that you are disconnected from self. Now we take it a little further. My view is that this recognition is really the key. It's very easy to live life, scale through life, and I tell all this from the perspective of my own life, the things that how I've lived and how I've turned up, and I wish that someone had told me these things before. Is frankly why I come here. I wish that before I'd had the information that when you do this, it is perhaps because you have some disconnection from yourself. So that is the context in which we're having this conversation. Okay, so I just have a couple of points, things I've experienced myself, and we'll just have a chat around them. So welcome. So the first one here is being too much. I laugh because I remember myself, and I'll probably be amused by all of them because I remember myself in all of them. But rest assured, while I was going through all this stuff, it's not anything that I found funny. And it's maybe not even in the past. It's just that it's always easier to see these things looking backwards, and it's always easier to see them in other people. So look, we're looking at recognizing points. So let's get into it. So being too much. So like holding 90% of the relationship yourself. And the tragedy of this is oftentimes I would blame the other person because I'd think that they're not showing up. Why do I have to do everything? Why is everything on my shoulders? If I do not do this, it will not get done. We are not planning dates. We are not doing this. We are not doing that. And because it wasn't being done, then I was then taking on more and more of the responsibility in the relationship. What I didn't realize was that my taking on 90 only left him room for 10. The total, if it were like a bucket of water, the water capacity is 100 liters. So it is not possible for him to take on any more activity because if I'm doing 90, the only thing that's left out is 10. So it's that I was leaning so much into the relationship because probably to some extent the reason how the disconnection ties in has a lot to do with self-value, self-worth, how you see yourself. Because if I had seen myself as someone who was worthy of being treated a certain way, I would have required that treatment. They say that you train people how to treat you. So by overextending and always doing and being too much and always being there and pushing and pushing and pushing, the net effect of what I was doing was actually pushing the partner away because it's untenable. The bucket is full. He's unable now to invest into the relationship because there's no space. I'm taking up all the space. And that then used to frustrate me on the other end. I get so frustrated because I'm thinking, this guy, why doesn't he do more? And yet I don't realize it's because I have created a situation that doesn't allow him to do more. They're hard truths. And I don't know how easy it is to see while there, if I'm honest. I don't know how easy it is to be able to stop and pause and note. And maybe it's as simple as noting your frustrations, such that if I was ever frustrated because I am doing too much, that should have been the niggling sign that I am doing too much, that I need to take a step back. And this feeling that I had that if I take a step back, then the relationship will end, I needed to look at my fear of what's that fear? Rejection, is it? That if is it rejection if the relationship ends because I've pulled back? Because sometimes it's worth having a look, because if without me doing all this that I'm doing the relationship ends, perhaps that's a relationship that should end. And in all those cases, it is what ends up happening. Because if I am overextending and the guy feels that they end up feeling like a figurehead, like they're not really there. They want a real relationship where there's a partnership. It's not that it's going to be 50-50 all the time, but that there is a give and take. So if they are always on the receiving end, that really pushes them into their feminine energy. And you're taking on, in that case, I'm taking on the masculine energy by taking charge, by doing, by doing and chasing. So that was one of the things that, looking back, I can now see was evidence of disconnection. Yes. Another one is babying. I don't know if this is that related. I think they're different. So in the first one, where you're being too much, there you're being too much for the relationship. But when you're babying, it means that you're almost wiping the crumbs. You're almost wiping the crumbs from the mouth, so that everything, the partner, the man, doesn't have to do anything. He lives in a bubble, because the way a mother would treat a child is really it. It's that kind of energy that they want to make sure, oh, have you done this? Have you gone to work? You're going to be late to work. Have you done, I can't remember any of my own examples right now, but that was something that I would do as well, just trying to think for them. So over and above thinking for the relationship, then I'm also thinking for them in their lives. And that's really just absurd. Because then I wasn't a valuable partner. I was just someone who was fretting, someone in their space, just always trying to check, have you done? I don't even like that myself. So why would I have expected that to be the winning factor in the relationships? I've put both anxious and avoidant behavior, because we talked about attachment styles. It's not behavior, sorry, it's attachment styles. So the attachment styles are either secure or insecure. Secure attachment style mostly has to do with communication. These people who understand how to deal with conflicts intuitively, they know what to do, they know what to say, they know how to manage situations where things are not going right. They're okay with themselves and they're secure in the persons that they are. The insecure are divided into three. There's the anxious attachment style, there's the avoidant attachment style, and there's the anxious avoidant. So a combination of the two. And the anxious attachment style is this one that comes up more as a neediness, wanting to make sure that everything is okay, wanting to make sure that things have been done, needing to be called, a requirement for, just this leaning very into the relationship, trying to do a lot. The avoidant attachment style is leaning very much out of the relationship. Someone who doesn't actually want to be in a relationship but is not aware. So it comes from whether it's picking partners who are not available, or really nitpicking and trying to find things which are wrong with the partner that is there. So that's, in a short nutshell, is what we mean when we talk about the anxious or the avoidant. Of course, this is a super big summarization. But the point here is that whatever the case, and the anxious avoidant has both elements, sorry, I should have said that. In certain situations, they might be anxious. And I think it goes more to do with the person they're in a relationship with. So if the anxious avoidant is in a relationship with an avoidant person, they show up as anxious. If they're in a relationship with an anxious person, they show up as avoidant. Yeah. So because we're talking about security, what being detached, disconnected from self shows up as is this inability to, I call it like not having your inner guidance, your inner compass of knowing who you are, where you stand, and being able to show up as yourself. So these insecure attachment styles do connect to that, because of when I read the book Attached, they did have a pleasant emphasis on the fact that it's not really truly scientifically known exactly where these styles come from. There's a lot of research talking about upbringing and things that happen there, but it's not like this conclusive nail in the head that this, that, and the other happened. So from that perspective, it's they actually say don't they actually encourage whatever style you have is the style you have. There is nothing wrong with it. It's just learning how to work around it and within it. Yep. So the next one here I have is buying love. I don't even like talking about it. It sounds very bad, and it is probably very bad, but at the point of doing it, that is not the conscious thought process. That is not what, I thought I was doing. I like gifts. I give gifts. I like this. I do that. But sometimes when it is overdone, and especially if the motivation, the intention behind it is that if I do this, I shall get this in terms of the relationship now, that they shall be more tied to me because I have done this, that, and the other from a financial perspective. That is really not good. That is really not good. Again, it is easy to talk our way around it because it's not the conscious thought. The conscious thought is not, I shall buy this to keep them. No. I'll give you an example. I was in a relationship where I think within the first month or something like that, it was his birthday, and I bought him I didn't buy him. I had a really nice thing that I gave to him, and I was trying to question myself and understand why I was doing that. I was trying to understand what my motivation was. And I spoke also to a lot of people to just try to get that view on whether or not it's okay, what should be done, that kind of thing. And in the end, I did give it. And the point I'm trying to raise is that at the point when I was doing it, it wasn't because I was consciously trying to buy love. And even looking back now, I'm not sure that was the reason that I did it. But I think if I could go back to me then, I would have told myself that to the extent that I have any doubt on my motivation, that should be guidance to me that there is room to question. And to the extent that there is room to question, then it's not something I needed to do. Because I was questioning it myself. I was rather disconnected from my intuition. So not really able to tell that within my own guidance system, within my own, what do I keep calling it, the compass? Within the compass that guides me, I wasn't able to tell that this is the reason why I'm doing it. And then relying on other people, I got different advice. And in the end, with the knowledge that I have now, I can tell that it wouldn't be me. That is not something I'd do today because I'm more grounded in myself. I do not feel the need to give all the time, to be constantly giving. I am now able to lean back and receive, which is a gift. It's more complicated than it sounds, especially, I don't know, I was going to say especially for women, but I don't know if that's really true. But women, we do have a lot of giving. We take care of our families. We are, I want to say expected. I don't know if that's universal. So maybe let me talk about myself. I did feel growing up, I did see like there was an expectation. It's a good girl thing again. I've tied the string. I've tied the thread of the thought together. It is that being a good girl, I would be applauded for giving and not so much for receiving. So trying to stay within that frame is the reason then that it became difficult for me to receive even compliments, even just someone telling you that you look nice. For me, there was this whole battle. Now I've gotten over it, but it has always been a battle to say, oh, this old dress, or I got this at a discount, or something to water it down, to show that it's not something that's worthy of complimenting or something along those lines. So it takes some grace to actually be able to sit with a compliment and appreciate it as a compliment, that this is something, a gift that someone is giving you, and to receive it. So, yeah, I feel like we've gotten a bit off topic, but let's see. Let's go on. The next one is overthinking. Overthinking. In fact, in that example I've just given you, that is an example of overthinking. I had in mind the idea of giving a gift to someone who, I think, who I'd hardly known. We're just starting off. The fire has just been lit into the relationship, and I want to give the gift, and then I'm unsure. So, the reason I was unsure, as I've mentioned, is because of the reason I was unsure, as I mentioned, is because of the need to, the inability to connect to myself. So, which is really the topic that we have here. So I'd sit down, ask myself, I'd go to all those magazines and ask them, what do you think? What is your opinion about this? What should I do? How should I tackle this? Then I'd go to my friends and ask a series of friends and try to pull the answers I get. Can you imagine? This is this is so much effort for something so small. But I know that I am in good company here, because it was also like in messages. I get a message, I think about it. How should I respond? I can't respond now. What should I say? How should I put this? Should I ask somebody how I should go about this? What if? How do I? Just a lot. And that really came from not being able to guide myself, not being able to trust my own perspective on how to engage. All right. The other thing was never stating an opinion. Sometimes I remember a particular date where the guy was a little exasperated because it was just I was unable to provide an opinion on anything. It was, what do you want to do? He'd ask, and then I'd ask him, no, it's okay, you choose. No, it's okay, you decide. No, it's okay, we'll go with what you want. And it was like, I could tell. He didn't say it as such, I don't believe, but I could tell from his reaction. It was just this. I think it reached in fact, that when it reached the tipping point was, we were going for ice cream, and at the time I didn't eat ice cream. And then he asked me if I'd want some. Then I told him, if you'll have some, then I'll also have some. What flavor? The flavor you're having. As in, I have deep, what's the word? Compassion for that girl that I used to be. And that was also because of my inability to connect. I didn't have a connection to myself. The disconnection from myself more or less stole my voice. I either did not have an opinion or did not want to state it. So that is how that showed up in the dating scene. All right. And closely tied to that is also minimizing myself. So trying to be smaller. This stems from the good girl again, because a good girl is not meant to be taking up space and seen. The good girl is meant to be small, taking a smaller space on the side. And in a relationship, it would be just that, exactly, like the ice cream example. Or just so not giving an opinion. What else is minimizing? Not doing what you'd prefer to do, such that sometimes even if your opinion is not sought, and there is a family gathering that you do not want to go to, this inability to say no, that the lack of boundaries, this inability to say that this is in a relationship, because relationships can really take a lot from you, and if you're not being yourself and you're playing a part, then that can be rather dramatic as well. It can be tedious. In my case, what would happen was that at some point I'd get frustrated. Again, frustrations which are never voiced, because we don't do that here. And in becoming frustrated, then the relationships don't last. And then I'd sit back and wonder, but how? Why did that happen? How did that end up where it ended up? So this minimizing is not ideal, because again, if a relationship is a partnership, there needs to be give and take from both sides, and you as the woman need to also give and take. Yes. So the other thing here is not trusting my own judgment on how things are going or the things that happen. What was that? Of how things are going. Let's start with that one, of how things are going. So questioning myself on he loves me not. That's one bit of it, which can happen in many contexts. But to some extent, it's possible to, not to some extent, it's rather, it's possible to gauge how things are going. It's possible to get a sense of how things are going. But more importantly, regardless of whether or not he loves you or loves you not, the primary question is, do I love him? Do I love him not? Which was not often the consideration in my mind. In my perspective, it was let's work towards this goal without too much, because again of the lack of inner compass. To some extent, I think there are times I never even used to consider myself as having an opinion on that topic. We are in a relationship, then things are good until they're not. Yeah, and this let me see now. I'm asking myself, at what point do I decide that they're not? For me, it would usually be like a rock bottom thing. Things have just gone completely haywire, and at that point, I say no. But does it have to get there? It's possible to make that decision well ahead of the disaster of rock bottom. So that disconnection from self also took me away from, what was that, having a judgment, being able to see. It's like some, they call it wool in front of your eyes. So being able to see how things are actually going. Yeah. And I think that's all I had for us today. Thank you again. I, as always, appreciate your spending time with me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.